Masters, teachers, loved ones, why do we fear money? Oh my. Yes, this is such a huge fear for humans on planet Earth. For of course there are so many fears tied into it. And let us say that your basic survival instincts are attached to it. First, let us say that this is not your fault. Then let us say that this is the way that the world has evolved. These are the systems and the structures upon which your societies and daily lives are built. Everything places value upon money. It is the currency by which someone is able to say what they have or do not have. And for many, it shows value. Value of who the person is, value about what the person can do. But none of this is true. Even though it does hold up the framework of the current system that is in place, this will not be the case for forever. For there was a time on planet Earth when currency was exchanged through more of a bartering system, a giving and a taking. But also, there was a time when things were simply created to be taken and given to all. This time will come again on planet Earth if society chooses to continue moving forward in the direction that it has been. But the question is, why do you fear money? Once again, let us say that it is simply because there are so many different fears attached to money. Poor money. Oh yes, poor money. That is exactly what we said. We know that that may not sit right with you. For you may be angry with money. You may be frustrated with it, upset, or scared by it. But let us remind you that the ways in which you think about money are not the fault of money at all. Again, the fault lies in the ways in which your society has been created and the role that money has been given. But it is not the fault of money. However, due to this, many fears propagate surrounding money. As we mentioned, that which of survival, value, ability. There are so many different fears tied into money in and of itself, that money doesn't get the opportunity to flourish the way that it would like to. For of course it was brought into creation by the human beings on your planet Earth. They were the ones who created money and therefore placed value on it. But it is within your power to turn that tide, to switch things around, to take back your power where money is concerned. Because money is simply that. It is currency. And what is currency? It is energy, just like everything else is. Everything is energy. And we are sure that you have heard this before, but we want you to fully step into the understanding of this so you can stop putting so much weight and pressure on money to be any one thing or to make you feel any certain way. For let us tell you, money will never be able to do this. This is something which you must create within yourself, outside of money. For one of the reasons that humans fear money so much is because of the enormous power that they give it. They believe that money can solve all issues. It can make everything better. But they do not understand that it is simply a frequency. And when one has an overabundance of a particular frequency, it will bring in other types of frequencies, meaning that there will be other things to contend with, even if you did indeed have a lot of this currency. It would bring in fears for other things, fears of losing it, fears of not having enough, fears of scarcity, fears of being able to trust other people, fears of not knowing if people like you for you or like you for your money. So many different types of fears. But again, that is simply because of the enormous amount of weight and power that is given to money. Whether one does not have enough or one has too much, there is fear attached to it. Therefore, in simplest and plainest terms, the answer here is you fear money because you make it a god. You set it up on a pedestal and you give it all your power. Therefore, you fear it because you do not know what a life without it would be like. You do not realize that there are still many places on planet Earth that do not use the currency of money and yet are able to experience greater joys, more freedom, ease, and true abundance in their life versus those of you who operate within this currency and know it all too well. For the currency itself is just that. You truly do not need it. And we know that this flies in the face of everything that you have been taught, what your everyday experience shows you. But let us say, it is important for you to know that what is even more valuable is the way that you feel about yourself, the way that you care for yourself, the way that you see yourself, how you show up in the world, how you show up in your everyday. For if you knew who you truly are, if you understood your innate worth and value, then money would flow effortlessly towards you. For even now you can think back in times when you were not concerned about money, yet somehow it made its way to you. Somehow you were able to get the things that you needed to get. Your needs were taken care of. And even in times when money was scarce, you still were able to get by. You were still given what it is that you most needed. Now, of course, these may not have been pleasant times, but why were they not pleasant? Were they not pleasant because you chose for them to not be? Perspective is everything when it comes to living in your everyday life, when it comes to your ability to put power in certain places. For yes, of course, it may have seemed as if life was very difficult for you in those times when you were lacking. But what else did you have in those moments? What other blessings were readily available for you? We invite you to think on those things now and to realize that abundance is simply a state of being. And what true abundance is all about is about understanding one's innate worth and value and seeing the blessings in your everyday, being thankful for each and every thing that comes your way, that lights you up, that shows you something different, that touches your soul, that comes from another, a kind word, a gesture. There are so many ways in which one can experience abundance. Having a fear of money is one of the most frustrating fears for us, simply because it is unnecessary. However, we do understand the human framing of it all and why it is that you have these fears. You are showing great compassion in this area. It's simply that it is unnecessary. And we hope that this message conveys as much. Money will never make you worthy of anything or anyone. It will never set you up the way that you believe that it will. Nor will anything else, other than the deep power that resides within you, that wisdom, that guidance. For you must create a life of your own. And know that in the midst of doing so, the universe will rally around you and always ensure that you have everything that you need and so much more. Thank you. What is the role of scarcity, and where did it originate? Once again, focusing on planet Earth. Scarcity is as old as time. For it too came from the very beginning. However, as we mentioned before, there were times on planet Earth when scarcity was not an energy that was running rampant in the collective. For at these times, there was enough for all. Now, there were still those individuals who wanted more. And from that wanting more, they believed that they had less. And that is the crux of scarcity. Never having enough. Never believing that there will be enough. Being scared that when it is your turn to come and receive water, that there will be none. That somehow things are going to run out and you will not be taken care of. Now, of course, the time that we spoke about has been quite some time ago. And since that time, societies have changed and transformed. And this idea that you must give me something for something, this value placed upon something in return for something else, is where scarcity began to grow rampant on planet Earth. For it began to place value on certain things. And that value, of course, evolved out of nothing. For who truly began to say that any one thing is worth any particular value? But that is what has occurred. Stacked on top of one another, these decisions, these affirmations, and the acceptance of this exchange is what led to the proliferation of scarcity. For it meant that something may not be as valuable as one originally thought. Therefore, it made one believe that they were lacking in some way, shape, or form. Now, this could be an individual, it could be livestock, it could be utensils, it could have been so many different things. But the point being here, that all of a sudden, value began being placed and named, and therefore became real to humans. Once this became real, humans were able to again label others as valuable or not. This is how things such as the slave trade came into being. For of course, these individuals were not considered to be as valuable as others. But this is simply one example that has continued to show itself through the many ages of humanity on planet Earth. In one way or another, it has only grown and evolved with time, and it is surely some of the darkest parts of humanity. For let us say, it did not exist until you believed it to exist. Let us say that one more time. It did not exist until you believed it to exist. Humankind brought it in, created it, and made it real. Which is why it's so important to understand that at its core, scarcity is not real. For your needs will be taken care of. It is simply a matter of opening up your mind enough to see the solutions that are there for you. Now we know that this may not always seem the case, that things may seem very black and white. Let us give you the example. Let us say that you are living in an impoverished society where food is doled out. Therefore, you are called to stand in line. And as you are standing in line, you are praying and hoping that there will be food available for you by the time you make it to the front of the line. But let us say that something happens, and that is not the case. If you allow yourself to shut down, to be overcome by this emotion, if you truly believe there to be no other solutions for you, then that will be true. However, if you open up your mind and open up your heart, if you trust that you will be taken care of, if you offer up a prayer, a solution will be given to you, perhaps in the form of a gift from someone else who sees that you are in need, or perhaps you will find something for yourself. The point being, if you believe there are solutions, then there will be. If you believe you will be taken care of, you will be. And if you believe that you will not be. Know that fear, of course, plays a role with scarcity, and that when one begins to feel fear, they are also feeling scarcity. For scarcity is just another version of fear. It shuts down the body and mind in the same ways. It stills your joy, it prevents you from living, and it keeps you small. So many people are stuck in jobs, believing that that is their only option, simply because of scarcity, because of money, when that is not the case. Yes, they may need to do something different. They may need to take a class. They may need to start spending their free time in other places around other people. But the point being, if they believe, it will be. Scarcity is not real unless you make it so. Thank you. How is money and fear connected? Or is it? No, it is not connected, but they are intertwined. Money only causes fear because of the weight, the pressure, the power that is placed upon it, therefore resulting in fear. They are interconnected, interwoven, yet they are opposites. For money is a frequency of love in and of itself. And when one comes into this understanding of money, they are able to change the frequency of their relationship to it. They are able to experience the vast freedom that lies within it. They are able to see that through the frequency of money, they can show kindness and love towards others. They can show up in different ways. They can do different things. They can have different experiences. We know that you know this. We know that you have experienced this too at one time or another. For you have experienced the many different sides of money. But let us say that money in and of itself is the frequency of love. It is very high frequency, very high vibrational, which is why when individuals are operating from a high vibration, they are able to attract money to them with ease, without pushing or pulling, constraining, controlling. For none of those frequencies are love. And whenever they are applied to the frequency of money, they stifle it. They push it out. They prevent one from being able to fully receive what is innately theirs. You must know that the universe wants you to receive endless amounts of the money frequency. There is no end. No end. Yes, of course, some people are here to experience extreme wealth or extreme poverty. But they too still have the ability to open themselves up to endless amounts of the money frequency if they so chose to do so. No one is meant to be struggling with less. That is not how the universe set this up to be, nor does it want you to experience this. But let us go back to what money is entangled with, what money thrives upon, because it is the frequency of love. That frequency of love must exist within an individual for them to draw it to themselves. And this frequency of love must exist within this individual for themselves. It must operate at a high frequency. This individual must know their worth, must know their value, must know that there is nothing more precious than them and the eyes of the universe in order to fully unlock this abundance that takes place. This is about building confidence within yourself, understanding more of who you are, and diving deeper into that. Thank you. How do our fears prevent us from receiving money? It's as if life is what you are speaking about. For just as fear prevents you from experiencing life, from living life, from knowing life, so too does it do the same with money. For these are opposing energies, fear and love. For as we have just shared, money is a frequency of love. And it wants to be with you in the greatest depths of you. Therefore, when you are overcome with fear, when you are dealing with fear on a daily basis, when you are making decisions from a place of fear, you are stopping the flow of money coming towards you. It is very important for one to work through their fears surrounding money so that they can experience abundance in every sense of the word. For of course, these fears will not just be directly tied to money, but at the root, they will also be tied to one's self-worth, self-love. Therefore, one can experience receiving greater amounts of money if they are in control of the fear in their life, if they are working better with this. A wonderful example that we would like to bring up that our channel has experienced many times. For you may or may not know that she grew up in the restaurant business, and waiting tables was something that she has done throughout her life at different intervals. She came into the understanding that when she arrived at work, knowing that she had bills to pay, or perhaps a car to fix, that money would not flow to her. In fact, it would flow in the opposite direction. She would receive bad tips regardless of the quality of her service. The restaurant might be slow that evening. Despite its popularity, many things could occur. However, if she arrived at work, excited to be there, ready to do her job, and excited to see what came of the night in regards to the amount of money she would make, then when she counted her tips at the end of the night, she would be greatly overjoyed, for there would be more than she would need, or at the bare minimum, exactly what she needed. This is how fear stifles money and the flow of money into your life. One other thing that we would like to point out is that when an individual is experiencing fear, they will not be able to open themselves up and approach life in a state of receptivity. Thank you. As you have mentioned, self-worth and self-love, can you elaborate on how this factors into our ability to receive money? Why, it is everything, my dear. Simply everything. If you were to be honest with yourself, to sit down and to think back about the times in your life when you were able to receive money, when large amounts of money found their way to you, we would like for you to consider your state of being with yourself in those moments. Perhaps the relationship that you had. More than likely, you were feeling pretty good about yourself. You were in a good place. You felt secure about yourself in some way. Of course, we are not saying that everything was perfectly aligned, but simply that overall, you felt worthy of the world around you. You felt worthy to have the people in your life that you did. You felt worthy to be doing the things that you were doing. And even more, you may have been very excited. You may have been overjoyed and so thankful. The point being here is that because money is the frequency of love, in order for you to attract more money, you too must experience this frequency of love. And when those two frequencies are paired together, it will flow effortlessly towards you. Now we know that this is a big endeavor. For from the time of birth, you have been dumbed down, you have been beat down, you have been told that you are less in one way, shape, or another. Whether it was because of your physical attributes, your intelligence, your ability to show compassion, to be honest, to show up for others. So many different things. You were taught that you were unworthy, which is why the majority of people on planet Earth struggle with this wound of worthiness, struggle with this ability to love themselves, to accept themselves for who they are in this very moment. Perhaps you aren't in the best physical shape. Perhaps you have been overtaken by habits that do not serve your mind. None of this matters. In fact, you could be in the worst of states that you could possibly imagine. And it would not change your innate worth and value. For your worth and value have nothing to do with the material world. It has to do with everything that is within, which is why when you hear that all are equally loved, it is because of what you all are in the deepest core of you. For you all are all the same in this space. It is simply the layering, the physical extremities. And again, going back to those first lessons of value that were placed on someone's daughter or someone's livestock or eggs that they wanted to receive from someone else. Please know that all of the healing in the world, all of the growth that you are doing in this lifetime, none of this increases your worth and value. These are constant, steady. They stay the same regardless of how much you do or how little you do. The difference here being experience and what the soul wants to experience, what the soul wants to know, as it moves and goes through the different lifetimes with you, through you. But none of that has anything to do with your worth and your value. They were given to you from the moment, the second of your inception, and they have been with you ever since. And they will be with you forever and always. Nothing can diminish them. Thank you. How can we clear our fears related to money? Going back to the principles that we have shared with you, this is about self-worth. It is about self-love. For you, my dear, must make this your number one priority. Not only for the amount of money that you would like to move towards you, but also because of the great expanse of life that you would be able to experience in that state. Let us share that you will never see yourself as a perfect individual, that there will always be things to improve and build upon. But one day soon, you will see this as precious and beautiful, instead of allowing it to subtract value or worth from who you are. One day you will realize that accepting this human experience is about accepting the flaws that come along with it and rejoicing in them, for they allow you to experience both sides of this experience, both the good and the bad, as is labeled through human context. But of course, as we shared with you from the very beginning, there is nothing that is good and bad, it simply is. Removing the power from these judgments that you place on yourself will be and do much to assist you in learning how to love and accept yourself. We also would like to bring into your consciousness the importance of living in a place of receptivity. Now you may say, oh, I am open to receiving money. But is that truly the case? Do you ask others for help? Do you allow others to help you? Do you allow them to give you compliments? Do you allow them to step in and take weight off your plate? And even if you do these things, do you feel guilt? Do you feel that you must give back? Do you feel that you must make it even? For if this is the case, then you are not living in a state of receptivity. Living in a state of receptivity is about living from your feminine. It is, again, knowing that worth and value, that innate worth and value. Knowing that if someone steps in to help you, your first thought doesn't need to be, how can I help them back? It needs to be, thank you. And then let it go from there. And do not worry, for a time will come when you can be of assistance to them. But that may not even be your responsibility. For just because someone gives to you does not mean that you need to give back to them. You could give in other ways, if you simply wanted to give, but it is not a requirement. And when you are living in those states of being, again, you are not fully living in a state of receptivity. To begin learning how to live in a state of receptivity, first of all, call it in. Say, I am open to receive all of the abundance that wants to come my way. Once you have declared this statement to the universe, take action. Watch as then you are implored to receive. These could be small gestures, or they could be big things. The universe cannot say how they will show up for you. But please know that when they do show up for you, it will be important for you to receive them openly, without feeling like you have to do anything in return. And if you feel that way, which would be quite natural, as it would be your conditioning, immediately brush it aside and simply rest in that beautiful state of receptivity. Just being grateful, just being thankful. For by doing that, you are showing the universe that not only you declare this for yourself, but that you are receiving. And as you open yourself up with these small things, they will become greater and greater. And it will draw more to you. There are so many of you that have been taught that you have to work hard, that you have to do it all your own. And we know that you have perhaps seen this in one way or another. Perhaps this is how you grew up. This is the home in which you lived. This is how your parents taught you to operate. But you are an adult now. And it is important for you to understand that you are not meant to be living life on your own. You are not meant to be building anything on your own. You are meant to be doing this in collaboration with others. You are meant to be asking for assistance. And you are meant to be requiring that assistance from those who are close to you. This is about setting boundaries for yourself, which takes us into a whole new area. But know that if you can look back on your life, again in your adult years, for when you are a child, you were a child. But as an adult, if there have been people in your life who have not helped you, ask yourself honestly, have I asked for their assistance? And if you have asked for their assistance and it has not been given, why have you continued to allow this person to show up in the same way that they did before? For it was then your responsibility to say, if you will not help me, then I must make a different decision about who you may be in my life. Those decisions will be up to you, but it is important for you to surround yourself with people who are ready to give and serve in similar ways. Know that it is not your responsibility to be out in the world giving of yourself unnecessarily either. For this too is not about living in your feminine, and certainly is not placing yourself in a state of receptivity. This is telling the universe and everyone around you that you can do it on your own and that you do not need their help. Whether you have ever said those words specifically or not, these are important understandings to have. Know that it is 100% your responsibility to set the limits and boundaries in your relationships with others, how you treat them and how they treat you. Know, too, the last and final ways in which your fears surrounding money can be cleared is through working with your fears about money, identifying them, understanding the root of where they originated, and then releasing them energetically. The more that you understand about yourself and where things originate within you, the easier it will be for you to release it. We would like to bring your attention now to the limiting beliefs exercise that you have already been taken through. This will be of great assistance to you in releasing some of these fears that are attached to money. The final thing that we would like to say here is change your relationship with money. Begin offering it up gratitude for the bills that you can pay, for the gifts that you can buy, for the assistance that you can give, for the way it shows up in your life, whether it is a penny on the street or it is an unannounced check in the mail. It does not matter. Become grateful for the groceries you can buy. Become grateful for the exciting things that money brings into your life. Begin to view money as your friend, for it truly is. It is the vibration of love. It wants to be with you. It wants to assist you. And it wants to heal you. When you heal your relationship with money, know that you will have greatly healed a big part of the way you feel about yourself. This is a step-by-step process, and know that every step along the way is going to be met with abundance in one way or another. Trust this process. Open yourself up, and you will be amazed by what comes through.